Welcome. Happy that you've joined us today. I'd like to welcome our three special guests. We've got Scott Birmingham, Andy Larin, and Andrew Van Grieken. We're going to be talking today about compliance, warranty, cyber insurance, and the current status of cybersecurity and Cork warranties in particular. Uh, Brought along these gentlemen to tell their stories about what's been happening with their particular clients and how they've been helping their customers as it pertains to their particular cybersecurity experiences. So, without further ado, I'd love to introduce our guests or let them introduce themselves. Andrew, why don't we start with you?
Sure thing. Thanks, Dan. Yes, my name is Andrew Van Grieken. I'm the Vice President of Plexis Limited. We're here out of St. Catharines, which is just nearby Niagara Falls, Canada, for those who know Niagara Falls. We're just a small operations. We have just hired our fifth technician as of this year, but certainly growing and now targeting Southern Ontario as a whole. So we're excited about that. Um, Types of clients we serve, just to give an example, we're kind of all over the map right now, but our primary focus seems to be more so on corporate veterinary practice. You probably hear a lot about companies like Vet Strategy or VetCore, which is a company that we currently serve. Um, so that's kind of been our primary focus at the moment, but we certainly have managed a lot of businesses here in the Niagara region. Um, and right now, so what's setting us apart is kind of as our partnership with Cork, we've kind of identified ourselves as the first managed service provider that offers warranty for their services within Niagara, and that's been kind of our claim to fame thus far. So that's been a huge partnership with us. Um, yeah, that's just a little bit about what we do anyway.
Thank you, Andrew. And something that you're most proud of at Plexus.
Gosh, most proud of. Um, you know what? Just maintaining consistency with our core mission. We're a Christian founded company, so our main thing is service to our client first and foremost, um, with integrity and honesty, and that's something that we've maintained within our nearly 30 years of business. So I've come on now 6 years ago and bought into the business about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was thankful that my partner is also a member of faith. So we've just been continuing to lean on our faith and lean on our abilities as IT service providers, and honestly, that's why we're where we are today. So
Thank you, Andrew. And congratulations on 30 years in business. That's
thank
absolutely
you.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Over to you, Andy.
Hello, everyone. Andy Larin with allCare IT. I'm in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. So I'm in between Toronto and Montreal. And where we've been in business now for going on 29 years. And things changed over that time period. Went from building computers into servicing, into MSP, and then now into security services. So the type of clients that we serve in our area, I mean, we've got clients of all sorts, but where we spend our marketing dollars is with manufacturing and with the ACE, so the architectural, construction, and engineering. And we over the past several years now, we've really been switching into a security focused MSP, and so we're very much on the leading edge compared to those that are around us in using some of the security services, which is why we love Cork. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit about our operation.
Thank you, Andy. 29 years, again, a lot of longevity there. What do you think,
Yeah.
something that sets your business apart? What is it that you do really well that has helped with your longevity and that customers recognize you for?
Yeah, I really liked what Andrew said, where, he was talking about honesty and integrity. Sometimes that sounds like a cliche, but unfortunately in business, you see a lot of people that don't have that. So I appreciate that, Andrew. I think that's fantastic. Um, Same with us. We've got some core values that we look at, and I guess what I'm most proud of is our team. Every day we strive to really put care into the interaction. So that's partly why we came up with that name of allCare, is that we wanted to put care into it, really show empathy and care for the person. So, yes, we're in the technology space, but ultimately we're in the people space. So we're dealing with people, and we want to show that empathy each and every day. And so I think that our people really do care. Every week on our Monday morning meeting, we have a section on culture, and so we talk about that in our meeting, making sure that that we show that empathy each and every day.
Well said. Thank you, Andy. Mr. Birmingham, always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Yeah, I feel like the youngster in the group. We've only been around for 16, 17 years, so not very long at all with this crowd. But yeah, we are similar to Andy. We started off as break fix shop many years ago, migrated to MSP, and then we were very early adopters and shifting into the security space, and that's now really our core focus. It's like we do security, and oh yeah, we'll do IT if you really want us to. But that's and actually I just came up with a new client we just landed. They need both, and so they asked us to look after everything, even though that's not why we initially engaged. So and we like similar to Andy, we like going after construction, in particular what we call heavy civil construction. So the guys who are building roads and bridges and that kind of stuff, we just have found it's a very underserved market overall, and they often don't think that they have a need for security until you talk about the dollars that are floating around in that industry. And there's literally billions of dollars floating around there, and if somebody loses payment, then that's a big deal. So yeah, so that's education is a big part for us. So
That's good. Scott, since you have the microphone and you are one of the early adopters of Cork, I'd love to jump into your story. What triggered the
well, I think we are the second one behind Andy. I think he got the jump.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Fair enough. If you'd like to have a knife fight now, feel free. Otherwise,
no.
All right.
We are all.
We're good
you
friends.
talked about integrity and honesty and stuff, and I think that's a really key part to the whole MSP community. Even though like Andy and I we overlap, but we talk and we're open and we share. I mean, it's all good. I think that's really critical. There's lots of business for everybody, and let's help each other. Let's help the industry. So sorry, I was on my soapbox there for a minute, but
it's one of the
sorry,
greatest.
Go ahead, Dan.
One of the greatest things about our business, and one of Cork's core values, is MSP first and building this community together. And 100% of the things that we build come from the requests of our partners. So I love it. Couldn't agree more. So, but Scott, love to know more about the story. What happened with your particular client? What triggered the event, and how did things go down?
Well, even though we like to focus on the heavy civil construction, we do have some clients obviously in other industries. This was a law office, not a very big one, but the principal lawyer, the owner of the practice, received an email, and it looked like it was relating to one of her current cases. So she went ahead and opened the email, and it said it was a document transfer. So she went ahead and proceeded with retrieving that document. Well, the whole thing was fake. But through this, she accidentally approved to do a push. And we had bells and whistles going off at our end. Our guys were diving in, they were already looking into what is going on here, when she called our office and said, I think I have a problem. And so yeah, we said like, yeah, you do have a problem. We're just looking at it right now. So, and we got it contained, and we got the bad guys booted out. And I think it was 26 minutes when we did the forensics. It was 26 minutes. But and then we also, and this is where the consulting part came in. So not only did we do the technical part, got all that secured, got all that cleaned up, did the IR. We then sat with the client and talked about what can we do to prevent this from happening again. We'd already had some things to talk to her about to improve her security. So, I mean, she was 100% on board with everything after that. But we also sat with her to contact her insurance company. We recommended that she contact the insurance company, even if she doesn't file a claim, contact the insurance company, and that way it's on record so that if anything down the road happens, she can then have a legitimate claim. And then there was quite a bit of consulting time after that with her, going back and forth with insurance and whatnot. So that same day during the AR is when we reached out to Cork to say, hey, we don't have anything actually bad yet, but there's been an intruder, right? So we have an incident. And I think we were your first. So there was a couple of bumps in the road as your first. I mean, that's it all got looked after. And it was kind of funny because we had clicked on the report an incident in the control panel, and then we never got a response. And about, I don't know, 2 hours later, I think Brody called somebody at Cork and said, hey, what are we supposed to do here? And like, oh crap. And boom, you guys were on it. Again, you weren't expecting it because we were the first. And so I look at that as part of the partnership. There is, we were the first, we helped you refine your process there, and everybody benefits from that, right? But out of that, the insurance company specifically said they would not cover any IR, period. They also wouldn't cover any of the consulting and the guidance that we were providing to the client afterwards. So all that cost would have been borne by the client. And so that's where Cork came in. So you guys right away, you got us the $5,000 virtual credit card, which helped. And then later on, the rest of the costs, because it went on, we waited on insurance for quite a while. And incidentally, the insurance company provided the option to the client to do complete deep forensics on it, just to see if there's anything else that maybe we had missed or whatever. And so that took a few weeks before that finally wrapped up. Good news is they were actually surprised at how quickly we had things contained. They actually said we had it contained faster than we thought. And their comment was, we have no recommendations at this time. So you're all good. So we submitted the final bill, and Cork paid it. And I know, Dan, you like to brag, for a better term, you look after us in its entirety. So whatever's involved, whether it be buying pizza for the teammates or pulling an all-nighter or whatever costs are involved, you cover. And I can say it's 100% true. One of the receipts I submitted in to Cork to get compensated for was pizza for the team. So if anybody's heard Dan say that and wondered about, oh no, he's just that's just salesy stuff. No, Dan's a man of his word. It gets covered. So that's our incident. And we bundle now, we bundle Cork in with every MSP client. They don't have a choice. They have to have Cork. And if they don't want it, then they're not a client. Simple as that. So is there anything I left out there, Dan, that you might remember differently or better?
No. I really appreciate you walking us through it. And I appreciate humbly, that we can always do better and areas of improvement. So we have worked on a number of things to make sure that we're lightning fast in our response, and continuous improvement is something we seek. But at the end of the day, swarming our joint customers, showing up, doing what we say we will do, writing the checks, and really making sure that you have customers for life is what makes us happy. So thanks for sharing.
Incidentally, I just had lunch with that client last week, and once again, she expressed her appreciation for how everything was handled. So, and this is 6 months, a year later, whatever it is, right? So
great. Thank you, Scott. Andrew, over to you. Love to have you share your experience with your client.
Sure thing. Well, I think my example is not too different from Scott, but a lot more refined in the procedure. We have a client that runs we have a client that also is a major construction player in our region. And what was interesting about the nature of the attack is that it doesn't seem like it didn't necessarily seem like our client themselves were invaded, but rather they had received a malicious document that was attached to a threat from a vendor that they work with. And it was so sophisticated that to kind of paint the picture here. So our client works with a vendor for supply, and they usually receive a customized template form in order to set up direct depositing. And there were three people attached to this particular custom form, so there had to be three different people who oversaw it, and then one of those three people is their controller who approves it and passes it along. So all three users got that email. They went through the custom document, made sure everything was kosher, and then sent it off back to the vendor for payment. That payment was $21,000. After we did some investigations, this was a day after we were told that, yeah, the vendor never got the money and they suspect there was some sort of malicious attack occurring. We couldn't find anything on their network. They were pretty spotless. And surely enough, after we made the claim, I got a call from Dan not like 10 minutes after I hit the claim button. And Marcus over at support is reaching out to me shortly after my call with Dan and saying, yep, here's your virtual credit card. I think ours was $10,000. And then we were able to cover some remediation costs, but we didn't find anything that was attached to the network or any device or mailbox. So we didn't bill the customer for any remediation fees or anything like that, just because our scans came up negative. But then, yeah, the procedure still took place, and we notified the client like, hey, we're working with Cork to see if we can get you guys that $21,000 back pretty quickly. But some guidance that we still gave the client was submit a police report, let them know what's going on. They didn't have cyber insurance, so they were really leaning on Cork to help them out here. But we did advise like, hey, in the future, even though you have Cork, like the one thing we can do is cover your deductible. So consider getting some sort of cyber insurance as you guys grow. So we made that recommendation. But then one thing we said too is like, hey, talk to your bank, see if they can reverse the charge first and foremost, right? Because if nothing else, then maybe you can get something back from the bank too, right? So that was the only reason why the process may have been delayed in terms of finally getting the funds back to the client, was just waiting on the bank to say yay or nay to the reverse of the deposit. So sure enough, they come back about I think it's 5 days later to say, no, sorry, we couldn't get the money back from the bank. Can we proceed with getting Cork's help? And sure enough, I had a conversation with you guys over at Cork, and not a day after that, they got their reimbursement of the $21,000. So that was a very easy claim to funds received, probably within the week of making that claim. So my client was super thrilled, and they were very impressed with this new partnership that we added to their agreement. And like Scott, we're now enforcing that upon client renewals, they're getting the Cork service baked in, and we'll gauge it. We do offer both the Protect 100 and the Protect 500 plans. This client in particular was on the Protect 500 plan, so they had more funds available to them. But I think there is wisdom in saying, hey, as a part of our services, this is a warranty we are providing, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Thank you for sharing that story, Andrew. What I thought was really interesting in this case is how much effort you and your team had put into your cybersecurity stack and monitoring and protecting them. You had Sentinel-1 on advanced endpoint protection, right? You're leveraging remote monitoring and management with Ninja.
Yeah, so to further paint
Right.
that picture, so the one thing that we really appreciated with Cork is their whole dashboard, right? You can monitor your entire systems through the Cork portal and see what devices are within compliancy, because that's very important if you're going to make a claim. And we actually designed a few of our technical stack around the existing integrations with Cork in order to maximize any events that may have come up. So for example, we partnered with Infima for our security awareness training, because that was an early integrated partner. Like you said, we have Ninja and Sentinel-1. We use Kaseya Datto for business continuity. We even integrate our PSA with Autotask with the Cork infrastructure. So with this particular client, had all the boxes checked, and even Marcus confirmed that the 3 users have been compliant with their security awareness training. So like there was no reason that they should have been, for lack of better words, affected by an attack, but there's no such thing as a 100% foolproof system, right? And if somebody's trying to sell you on that, I think it's a lot of bogus. So
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. It's really important to understand how Cork operates, which is that
Mhm.
we're trying to provide our MSPs all of the visibility and insights possible to help make this a more secure ecosystem for all of us, right? And so the more, we believe in you. We support you in the investments you're making across your stack. And so the better that we all do, with our technology and making sure that our customers are turning everything on and are going through the training, et cetera, then obviously the more secure the environment is. And that also helps us when it comes to threats like this, where the threat actors get through. That ensures that cyber insurance and products like our cyber warranty that they pay out because all of
Mhm.
the things have been done properly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why Cork exists, right? To be able to be there when businesses get attacked. And so that, because at the end of the day, we believe that it's the universal right of organizations to survive these threat actors and these threat attacks. So
Well, further to the use of the portal too, if nothing else, it holds us accountable. And I think clients really appreciate that underlining their agreements. There's an accountability factor, right? That's one thing that we go back to what we were talking about earlier, and appreciate that Scott and Andy acknowledged it too. The identity of honesty and integrity, accountability is a big part of that. So I very much appreciate that. I get emails every day in terms of the compliancy reports to make sure all of our clients are up to date. I send that over to my first responders to make sure that that's all taken care of. So we don't really have an excuse to drop the ball.
thank you,
Nice.
Andy. Andy, over to you, my friend.
Yeah, so ours is a fairly new one. It only happened recently, um, and we got an alert, and then within a few minutes, a client called, saying that they got a bounce back in their inbox for something that they didn't send. So we were already looking at the alert. We were so similar to what Scott was saying. So we immediately it got put over to our security team immediately from our regular help desk. They started looking at what was going on with that, and it turned out that it was a bit of a novel approach. So it was an attacker in the middle, an adversary in the middle. So something like Evil Jinx that was used. The email that the person got was from somebody trusted. So it's from they're in the space with hospitality. So they got an email from somebody high up at one of their clients. They opened up the email. It looked legit. It was somebody sharing a document to them, so they clicked on it, and then it wanted to log in the browser. And one of the things that's always been told to end users from Microsoft is, if you can customize the splash page in behind and put your logos on there, put your splash page, put your logo, then that adds a lot of legitimacy to what the client is seeing. And so, unfortunately, that is what the client saw. So this novel approach was that they actually go out and fetch the real username and password once you put in an email address. And so it's acting exactly like the Microsoft page does. So the user put in their username, they put in their password, they got MFA. So they put in their MFA token. It was one of the ones where they had to put in a number as well in their MFA token. And so they did all of the things correctly, they thought. Now it ended up that the file didn't have much in it. Um, there were actually two users that got hit at the same client. The other user forwarded it on to somebody else. They opened it up and they couldn't see what was inside of the file. So then they went and they opened up the same file in their personal Hotmail account, and so then their Hotmail account got hit. And so that one, of course, that they got locked out of their account in Hotmail, and there's no easy way to get that back. So that was days and days and days of their life trying to get back into their personal account. Our team was really quick on it. I don't know the exact minutes. I'd have to look at the ticket, but it was definitely under half an hour with them kicking the bad guys out. I always look at it like a crime scene. So our guys are always told, you can go in and you can kick the bad guys out. You can stop the bleeding, but don't start changing anything. So our guys immediately kicked the bad guys out. They started running some tools that we have that collect all of the logs, collect all of the rules that are set in every mailbox so that we could see. And that's how we saw that a second mailbox had been hit. In the meantime, I said,
That sounds almost
again,
identical to the process we went through. I mean, it was exactly
yeah,
the same. So yeah.
it was a sophisticated attack, and in the meantime, I didn't really know the process either because it was the first time that we had done one. So I texted Carlson and said, "Hey, this is what's going on. What do we do?" Within 30 seconds, he was back to me and he said, "Put something in on the back end." And we did, and within less than 15 minutes, like 12 minutes, 13 minutes later, Marcus called and said, yeah, we've got the virtual credit card here for you. What kind of support do you need? I said, our guys are in the thick of it right now. They've already kicked the bad guys out. They're starting to look through the logs and figure out what happened and why it happened. So everything happened within pretty rapid succession. Within half an hour, a lot of it was already kind of under wraps. Now, of course, then the analysis of what happened, what did they touch, what could they have had access to, all of that then comes into play. But I was super impressed how quick and I could have saved myself some time. If it happens again, we know exactly what to do now in the back end. And of course, I should have gone there first, but that again, the first time that we ran into it, we weren't really sure what to do. But I'm super impressed. Our whole team was like amazingly impressed. Like, wow, they covered it already. Like that's impressive. You're lucky to, get an insurance company to call you back within the same day or within a few hours. So yeah, our whole team was really, really impressed. And Dan, you did tell us to go ahead and buy pizza for the team. We didn't on that day, but we really appreciate the offer. So thank you.
Look, everybody's got to eat, right?
I know everybody had lunch already, so
Like we nobody thinks well on an empty stomach. So
absolutely.
if you can have, cover the basics. I tell it to my 7-year-old son on a regular basis too. So uh yeah, and Andy, if we could make the flashing light submit a claim, if you want that button any bigger within our portal, we're happy to, we can make it larger.
Yeah, I just because with with insurance and with any other thing, there's a procedure of what has to be done. And, sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you're not thinking properly or, which is why an IR plan is so important because then you can reference it and you can say, this is what we need to do. So we actually added that to the IR plan of where to go inside of Cork in order to do that. So those are things that unfortunately you don't think of until after the fact. And then you're like, okay, let's add that to the plan.
Look, the fact that you can text us, call us, hit a button,
Exactly.
whatever, right? We're always available. Uh,
Yeah.
One of the things that is deeply alarming to us as we look across the industry and some of the trends is how human error is what is actually causing so many of these incidents. So
Yeah.
in 2024, Cork witnessed 1.2 million incidents across all of our endpoints. And of that, 88% of the incidents that happened, 88% came from human error, right? That's what we're seeing as the major trend. You gentlemen just told stories about people being tricked by
Yeah.
sophisticated attacks. What do you think we should do? What can we do to help our joint clients on this journey? Besides obviously having something like Cork or cyber insurance, right? To be there when things go sideways. But I'm just curious, there's some learnings from these things that we're doing with our clients.
I can jump in. This was just before we signed up with Cork. We had an incident with another client, again, email, human error. And one of the things that we learned out of that, it's one thing to have security awareness training and testing. It's another thing to have a policy in place to say that employees must do that. And if they do not, there are consequences. So, you know, sharing that kind of information around the community is, yeah, it's one thing to have that in place and be compliant and everything else. But if somebody hasn't done it, regardless of whether it leads to an incident or not, the company needs to have some kind of recourse. And in this instance, this client didn't have any kind of recourse legally with that employee because they didn't have a policy in place. So we made sure they got a policy in place. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, we see a lot of the enterprise or the really large companies or organizations able to insure like, put significant buckets of money away to be able to handle some of these types of things, right? But for small and medium-sized organizations, that's just not the possibility. So without some
No.
of these financial protections in place, the pain is simply too great. And so that's where, working with the right managed service provider who understands the right technical stack and the right way to help manage financial risk. It really is the only path forward, especially the next 3 to 5 years as we think about, what this ecosystem looks like. I'm pretty convicted on that point. I realize we are at time. There was one question from Corey to you, Scott, about the forensics. I think you answered that you and your team handled the forensics yourselves in this case. That was a lot of.
Actually, no, we wanted a third party, right? No one should check their own work. So the insurance company had their own forensics company who came in and basically checked our work, said, yeah, everything is good. So, and it was actually quite interesting. That forensics report cost the insurance company $18,000 that the client didn't have to pay, right? And Cork didn't have to compensate for. But I was quite surprised, like even for an incident, I'll say that small, at what that forensics cost. But we encourage the client to say, yes, make the claim, do it. And for no other reason, again, to Andrew's point, accountability. It showed the client that, yeah, we are doing what we should be doing for you. And it's not us tooting our own horn. It's the insurance companies now said you did a good job, right? So.
And you don't know what the ramifications will be down the line. If it's a lawyer, there could be a lawsuit down the line for some data leakage. So yeah, you're better to have that coverage.
Corey, hopefully that answers the question for you. So.
Thank you, Scott. If there aren't any other questions from the attendees to our panelists, then I'd like to go around. Any other comments that you'd like to make as we close it out? Andy, I'll go to you first. Anything else you'd like to say?
Sure. I just wanted to say, our client was super happy that there was coverage for them, that they didn't have to worry about that. And really the basis for this webinar, a lot of times there's questions about whether insurance will pay out. Insurance only pays out if you've done all of the things that insurance, that you've attested to. So same thing here with the warranty. There's always that question that people have in the back of their mind: will it pay out? And so it's awesome to see that yes, it will pay out. And so that's something that we can talk to further clients about as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Scott, over to you. Any final words?
Echo what Andy said, and yeah, Dan's not paying me to say this, but yeah, Cork's one of the good vendors, one of the good partners.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we can get a hold of them, we can have a conversation with them. And when Dan says MSP first, it's not just a line, they're living it. I wish other partners were that focused on us as their partners. So, and again, Dan didn't pay me to say that, other than he bought me lunch as part of the the IR.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for the partnership. Andrew, over to you.
Yeah, just again echoing what Scott and Andy said. If nothing else, I think just advocate that Cork is a good service in your stack. It's certainly, as we can see, they do pay out, and that I would encourage anybody just to use the case studies that we've spoken today as not just stories that are proven points, but just as examples, like things are going to happen no matter how foolproof your system is. So be prepared, have a plan in place. I like what Andy said about like making sure you know the steps. And if nothing else, spend that little extra time, again, advocating for your client, write up a plan with them, show them what their remediation process is, who to contact, what they can expect in terms of lead times, and maybe even read over the warranty agreement with them. Like if you sit down with them, have a meeting, say, here's what you can expect, here's the experiences we've had and what we've heard, and this is why we underwrite it in our agreements, right? So show confidence in the product, and clients will likely listen.
Yeah. If I can just say one more thing, I picked up on something that Scott said. You know, he said Cork is a partner, and all of us in the MSP world have lots of vendors. There's a big difference between a vendor and a partner, and so I echo the same words. I think that Cork is a partner, and that's a much tighter relationship than just a vendor. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and even just to echo what Andy just said, that is one thing when I go to all of our clients, I say, hey, I have this partnership with Cork. I'm not afraid to divulge that information, whereas oftentimes maybe you want to keep your stack a little bit hidden because it's too technical jargon. I say, no, here's the relationship we have with Cork. Here's what they do for us and do for you guys. So I think that's a good point, Scott and Andy, that this is not something we hide, this partnership.
Yeah.
You gentlemen are very generous. I really appreciate the kind words. Obviously, we believe in servant leadership, and so we exist to be of service to you and your clients. It is a two-way street, and so you help us be a better organization, and appreciate the transparency. Love the theme of accountability today. It allows us to show up so that you have the accountability, or that you have the confidence to show up for your partners or in your clients. So thank you. I learned some things today. I appreciate it. And thank you to all the attendees for joining us, and thank you panelists for spending the time. I hope you all have a great rest of the day.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thank you. You as well.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.